welcome back to the Bloom Room. I'm Bryn,
I'm Bentley.
And I'm Cooper.
and today we're going to be going over the differences between DODEA and public schools and our thoughts on them. But first, let's do a really quick Bloom spotlight. For today, we have one blog and one artwork. For our blog, we have It's a Small World After All by Elizabeth H. And for our artwork, we have Wheel of Mystery by Jason C. If you have a chance, go to the Bloom website and check out these pieces by our amazing Bloom community. All right, Bentley, Cooper, should we get started?
Yeah.
Yes, I believe we should.
I think we should give a little bit of like some context into DODEA since I know DODEA schools aren't present in every military family's life. So let's get some context on DODEA versus public schools because obviously DODEA schools aren't present in every military family's life. And I'm sure there are people out there who are curious what DODEA schools are. So DODEA actually stands for Department of Defense Education Activity, and it's like a federally operated school system for military connected children. The DODEA serves around 70,000 students, and there are schools worldwide in US bases from Europe to the Pacific to Asia. And the goal of the DODEA is mainly to provide like an education for a military family to move really often and in places where an American style education, often taught in English, is hard to access, especially in those foreign countries. And public schools are kind of your state and locally funded schools serving the general population, and they're free to attend, and they're usually based on neighborhood-based enrollment, which differs from military DODEA schools because DODEA schools are really open to the children of military service members or civilian contractors. And the reason why we thought this would be a pretty interesting topic was because military families move a lot and transitioning between systems can be really hard. But I know the DS systems have made it easier for a lot of military children to feel like they belong and navigate transitioning, especially in foreign countries. And I've personally also found that like the DS schools kind of helped me have like a better sense of community, and it made me feel like people really understood my situation, especially when I was in like elementary school and when I like didn't have as much confidence to advocate for myself.
Say my personal experience with DoDEA schools are like you just everyone, well not everyone, most people in that school have a military like background, like they're a dependent of someone so they know what situation you're going through. And like it kind of just helps all y'all come together and like just be one in a way. And then there's also other things like those schools generally have like a little bit better of like an education and better kids just because yeah, versus public schools. The education's still good, but there's also more like not good things that happen.
Yeah, honestly, I agree with that. I had just moved from a public school, and after going to tons of DODEA schools in my time, it just felt so different. Like public schools felt more mass produced, if anything. I was in this area that had like tons and tons of schools, and I don't know, they all just kind of felt it felt like they didn't have any personality, if that makes any sense. And for like DODEA schools, it's like they take school's spirit very seriously. They kind of do like the little things that, people would think about. And I just didn't see that often in public schools.
Yeah, I can definitely agree. I think with Dodia, like the sense of community is so strong there just because one, Dodia schools end up being on the smaller side. Like I remember for my elementary school, it was only like 600 of us, which I don't know about you, but I feel like that's like a pretty like small size for an elementary school. And I know like even the high school, middle school, it's like usually under like 1,000, which I would argue is like a pretty smaller to moderate size. And I do feel like because of this, like you're able to get pretty individualized attention. And there are like programs within DoDEA schools. Like I know there's like a gifted and talented class at like a lot of DoDEA schools, which I like personally really enjoyed having been in that program. Um, and I also do think that because people are moving so frequently, And like PCSing is very much like a part of life at the DODEA schools. I feel like a lot of the teachers and staff are just a lot more understanding of that. And that's something I really appreciated because I feel like they knew what to say and they knew like how to make me feel better and how to encourage me to have relationships with other individuals in DODEA schools. Like and how to like make friends really easily. And that was something that I really enjoyed. And it's kind of like a life skill I carry with me, even as like I'm in high school in a public school.
Yeah, I can agree. I can agree with that.
Also, I know Jenna and Brian touched on this a lot in our other episodes, but the Dodino school, like sports, especially overseas, like the competition is just like so intense. Like school spirit is really, really big. And again, it's a really unique experience. What other kid is gonna say, oh hey, I just traveled to like Korea to go play a game against like our rival school. Like it's kind of surreal.
Oh yeah, I actually remember seeing like there was some kind of barstool account for a school that my old school, Kubasaki High School, was competing against. And tons of people from Kubi were just absolutely like bashing on the school in the comments. I believe it was one of the DODEA schools in South Korea, but I can't think of what it is right now.
Humphreys, maybe. Or
Yes,
Seoul.
that's what it was.
Yeah, Humphreys. Humphreys is like the bigger one because Seoul American, that's kind of where I was. Like that closed down because it gave Youngsan Garrison back to Korea.
Hmm.
I think definitely like I will say the biggest like culture shock for me going from a public to a Dodia school, kind of like new kid syndrome. Like I just never felt like the new kid at a Dodia school. I was just like, oh, I'm here. I'm existing with all these people because they're all just like me. And I really, really enjoy that feeling.
Yeah, it's different for my situation now. So most of my life I've been going to DODEA schools. And then it was in last year, my freshman year, um, I went to a public school out in town. Well, all the kids that went to the middle school on base, they moved out to the high school. So like the teachers and students and stuff were still understanding, because they kept having new kids coming in. But like there's also a bunch of kids that are permanent party and just stayed, have been there their whole life. So like you have a mix. But now that I'm here where I am now in Arkansas, um, it's gonna be completely different because everyone here has grown up with each other, and then I'm gonna be the new kid walking in.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be it's gonna be really interesting to see how that plays out. So
Maybe now I think we can go over a couple of the key differences between Dodia and public schools and hopefully like our personal experiences and the information we give and discuss can be a resource for families who may be considering a DODEA versus public school. Also, I think it's also worth noting that there are like some schools, I think it's like Purple Star schools, uh award, or it's like a blue ribbon award. No, it's the Purple Star Schools program. But I think it's worth noting that like these public schools who are like a Purple Star school are recognized for having a commitment to supporting military children. And if you're looking to attend a public school, that might be a really good option to see if there are any close by. I actually was like one of the panelists for like the Purple Star conference, where we actually talked about the impact of like supporting military children within public schooling. So I think that's also something really important to consider when you're comparing both. But yeah, I will say I think in terms of like the DODEA versus public school, like the curriculum is a little different. Like I think the DODEA is just like very consistent and standardized based on where you are.
yeah,
But I think like public schools, they definitely do vary a lot, especially if you're in between systems. Like if you move from one place to another, it can be kind of hard to either catch up or if you're really, really ahead, it might be hard to find advanced classes because the school systems are so different for public schools. It's pretty hard to transfer, especially with credits. I know like when I was in Virginia, a lot of my credits just didn't transfer over to a California school. And like I had to like repeat like some classes like for graduation credit, which I thought was really annoying.
Man,
that's
that
awful.
yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah, I don't really notice like state graduation requirements existing in DODEA schools, obviously because they're not usually in a state, but it's still like very annoying to have that sprung up on you seemingly at the last minute. I remember that I actually had to complete like several hours worth of surveys just because I had missed my freshman year while I was living in Kentucky, which I thought was complete crap.
Yeah. And I will also say, like, especially like state testing is such a pain in the butt. Like, I hate sitting for hours in a room, like just taking a random like standardized test. And especially like whenever I move, like having to take those state tests is gonna super annoying. I wish there was a way to like transfer like the standards or like have an equivalency like level of proficiency so that I just won't have to take that again.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah. Something else I wanted to talk about was like the student body and diversity. Like DODEA, obviously, it's like kids from all over, and there's like that sense of community through the shared military lifestyle. But I do feel like public schools, like sometimes they can be a little more diverse depending on the area, but it's generally from like the local population. And again, DODEA kids, like they get moving culture. They're like, oh, I'm moving in 2 weeks to Alaska because my dad got a new assignment, right? Like I think public schools are a little less understanding of new kids, and it's a little harder to make friends in that sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say, DODEA schools, like you said, are more diverse just because it's people from all over. And then public schools, like depending on where you are, it's just like the local community or like I don't know how to describe it. It's just like it's more diverse than DODEA schools, and then public schools are kind of just like all of this. They're not the same, but they all have similar um like things that they might like to do or things like how they dress or something.
Pretty static. I feel like DODEA schools, the best way I could put it is that DODEA schools, like they're diverse in their experiences. Like they're coming from all over, they're coming from different bases. And I think public schools are more like diverse in makeup, right? Like there's more than like one different type of student. I don't know. I feel like DODEA, it was like no one asked why I moved here because everyone already knew. Like, I don't know. I think it's just so refreshing to have that type of community. No one's like, oh my gosh, like you're moving because of the military. No, it's just like, okay, you moved here. Let's go hang out at the park later.
Yeah, the amount of times I have already been asked by people, where am I from?
Yes.
It's absurd because like everyone's grown up with each other around here. So when I started going to my church that I've been going to here, all the people that I've been meeting, they're like, "Where are you from?" I'm like, "I'm a military kid."
The dreaded military child question, where are you from?
Yeah,
No, people are always like, oh, what's the last base you were at? I feel like, yeah, everyone just gets each other, which I think is really, really nice.
yeah,
Also, I feel like there's just like some things that are just like so essential to like the military, like DoDEA experience. Like every morning you stand up for the national anthem, Pledge of Allegiance, first day of school, like they have like the color guard come in and like they play the bugle for you. Like, really, those are like my core memories.
Like every day or just like on occasion? Because I don't believe I've had that happen. I mean, the Pledge of Allegiance, yes, but
What? What part are you talking about?
like the color guard coming in and playing
Uh, first and
or the
last,
national anthem.
first and
Mm.
last day of school, and the national anthems every day.
All right.
I didn't have the national anthem every day,
Yeah, me neither. In all
Maybe
but hey,
honesty.
you know what? That's great.
America.
Yeah.
And then something else, I know we talked about this pretty briefly already, but Judea, like the system is just so much more robust for frequent moves. And like I know on base there's like school liaison officers that like help families, especially like in international settings, because I went to Dodea like outside of the United States. And like having the resources and like people trained to like kind of walk you through like the DODEA onboarding process for me. Like I think it helped my family a lot. And like these school liaison officers, like they also helped my family to explore other education like outside of the base because my sister was a little like too young for DODEA at that time, and like they helped us like find schooling and like centers outside the base where like she could learn too.
Wait, I'm actually a little confused by what you mean by too young for DODEA. Do you
Oh,
mean just
well,
like pre-K or?
yeah, like she was like the grade below pre-K to like kindergarten. And like she was like
Hmm.
originally gonna like transfer to like my elementary school on base, but like she just liked her school so much that we just like kept her there. And like the bus would like literally come inside base and like pick her up every morning and like go back out. Like it was really nice. Also, I think something to know is that I feel like public schools, like it sometimes they're like very like overcrowded or like they're sometimes pretty underfunded, especially in like more rural areas. Like the idea, I've always felt like I had the instructions, the materials, and the support I need, but I know that's not possible in a larger setting. Like right now, my graduating class in my high school has around 550 people, and we have like six counselors. So it's like a pretty large class size, and those six counselors cover all four grades. So we have 2,300 kids at our school, and I that's just like I go to a very large high school, so I feel like if I was in a DODEA school, like I would have gotten a lot more like individualized attention for high school. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I feel like all the DODEA schools that I've been to, like the counselor, it's just like something small that I remember, but the counselor has always been a big help with like trying to help me get settled into my school and like just making sure I'm comfortable and stuff. Like it's always been that counselor that just helps.
Yeah, no, definitely for sure. Yeah, totally different from like going from a class size of like 15, 20 to like 40, 45 people. 100% culture shock. And yeah, I also feel like Dodia, like the school policies were a lot more structured, if that makes sense.
Oh no,
Like
I
I
know,
feel
I
like
absolutely know what you mean.
there were like expectations and like everyone just followed it. But like in school, like people break the rules so casually. And I think Dodia schools, like they very much like help me engrave like a sense self-discipline and like integrity in myself. And again, like that's something I carry with me, especially like growing up. So I felt like for me that was like a really, really big thing.
Yeah, like I said at the beginning of the episode, like in DODEA schools, it's more like they're not like more strict, but they're more like they are strict in a way versus public schools where there's um like people breaking the rules and stuff. I mean, people still break the rules in DODEA schools, but it's more like the kids are more well behaved.
Hmm. Seems like public schools have a lot more leniency.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I also think another really my last like topic that I really wanted to discuss was like extracurriculars and sports in terms of DoDEA schools. DoDEA schools, like they're very small, obviously. And I think one like kind of byproduct of that is that there aren't as many like extracurriculars or clubs. Like because you have such a small student body and a lot of these clubs and stuff they require like outside assistance, which bases may not necessarily like be equipped to handle. And I think that's why like the DO schools, especially like outside the United States, like Pacific, whatever, like they have like their own like sports leagues and it's like across like multiple different countries just because you don't have that many DoDEA schools in like one country. But yeah, definitely like limited extracurriculars and sports there, which public schools might have better or worse programs depending, I think, on how much funding they have. But yeah, I think public schools definitely have more options there. But also, it's like a product of living on base, right? Like if you live on base in another country, it might be hard to find the extracurriculars and sports that you're interested in, especially if they're pretty specific to America.
I honestly do agree that when it comes to finding sports overseas, that it is very difficult. I remember that my friends wanted to play lacrosse out in Okinawa, but they had to like rely on volunteers instead of like the school directly until I think just a few months ago when like the school officially adopted the volunteers as the official sport.
Yeah. What about you, Bentley? I think you've been to like DODEA schools inside the US and like obviously like you do drill and stuff. Is that something you did like through your school?
Oh yeah, so drill it was what's it called? So there was it's not like a club. I guess you could consider it a club. Um, but it was JROTC, and then falling under that, it was drill. And drill was just it was based within the school, but that school's very JROTC heavy. Like the Raider team, they're six-time national champions. They've won the past, I guess, 6 years. Um, uh, so they're very focused on JROTC, and then the drill program. Like we went to nationals back in April. We went to Daytona Beach, Florida. And then we just had like our local meet. So like, yeah, that was all within the school. So I didn't really have any issue with that. Like, yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting. And I think like having JROTC and DODEA school is super nice. Like you have like such a strong military support network literally at your fingertips, like with the DODEA school. So definitely a great resource. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I had for us today. Bentley Cooper, if you have anything else.
No, I think I'm pretty good. It's really hot
Yeah.
out here.
Yeah.
Actually, I got to mow, and that's gonna be like another 3 hours, so I'm gonna have a lot of fun.
But for anyone out there who's considering a DDR versus public school, do we want to like give some advice? Like I feel like I'm going into my senior year of high school, so I feel like I can give some pretty good advice for both.
I think, I guess it depends what you're looking for. I would personally want to go to a DODEA school just because just the community and it'd be easier to make friends, but to each their own.
So yeah, I'd totally recommend going to a DODEA school over a public school. I'm sorry, public schools, but for my freshman year, I went to a DODEA school, Kubasaki High School, and for my sophomore year, I went to Atherton High School, which is a public school. And it just kind of felt I had more of a sense of community at Kubasaki, even though I did tons more extracurricular stuff in Atherton. I don't know, it's just something special about the DODEA schools. They just felt more personal than anything.
Definitely, I think it all everything very much depends on like the public school, right? Like for me, if it's like a Purple Star school and you have like a liaison officer and they're just like so wonderfully equipped to help military families, I feel like that really does make a lot of the difference and like the culture of the student body. So for me, I would feel it's a toss up, but for any like parents or people out there like looking to debate both of these, I would like research your school options pretty heavily. Like my family researched my school options a lot before I came here. We ultimately settled on my school because it had a really, really great blend. Because we're like an arts and sciences school. So I had that academic side and like I sing too. So for me, like my high school is a really great fit and there is a really strong military presence here in San Diego. So that was something we really enjoyed and something that we took into consideration when I chose my high school. And I would definitely talk to your school liaison officers, on base, off base, school administrative staff, and like advocate. Like if you have an IUP or 504 transfer, get that done really early because that'll definitely help you later on. And maintain connections with old friends and definitely get close with your teachers no matter what school you go to. I feel like they help a lot when you like cultivate like relationships and like start making friends. But yeah, for anyone watching this, if you've gone to a DoDEA or public school, we'd love to hear you talk about it and any advice for other military families. Bentley, if you want to close off for today, I think that's all we have.
Well, I guess that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you all for listening. Make sure you go follow us on Instagram, um, Blue Military Teams. And yeah, I'm Bentley.
I'm
I'm
Bryn.
Cooper. Help. Same. Yeah.
Cooper, I'm Bryn. See you guys next time on the Blue Room.